Fisher for three. Bang! He could.
This is the Tom and Jerry Sports Show
on All Noise Radio.
Go! Shoots, he scores! What a play by Tavares! No! Wait!
All Noise Radio. The noise you can't ignore.
You're listening to another Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio and the Live 365 app. We had a nice first and second round of the tournament.
Yes. As Dick
March
Vitale would
Madness.
say, upset city.
Yes. Upsets for days.
It really was, and that's, what makes this tournament what it is,
Yeah.
how special it is when you have 14 seeds beating 3 seeds.
Yeah.
As in Mercer and Duke.
See, like we said last week, we felt like this was the most, kind of equal.
Yes, good word.
Equal opportunity tournament for any team in this tournament. I mean, Albany gave Florida a nice little run for their money there, and that's a 16 and a 1 seed. I mean, you're looking at teams that the number 1 teams did not blow out.
Mm-hmm.
The teams that they were playing in the first round. And, I mean, even the number 1 seeds haven't really blown out anybody
in
yet.
General, yeah.
Really. I mean, the only team that's really been blowing out anybody is Tennessee. And they had to play themselves into the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
They were, they had to play on, what was it, Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah.
Against
the
Iowa.
quote-unquote first round.
Yeah. Against Iowa. And, I mean, then they go into the tournament. They go up against UMass, beat them by 20. Then they go up against Mercer, beat them by 20 after Mercer just beat Duke. So, other than that, I mean, nobody's really blown out anybody. And, Michigan State's still there. Like we said, I felt like Michigan State was a very, very, very solid number 4 seed. They could have even been a number 2 or number 3.
Yeah, all the 4 seeds really this year are really played better than the 4 seed that they got.
Absolutely. And like we were saying, Wichita State, they got the short straw on this. Their bracket was one of the top brackets, if not the hardest bracket.
And then you also can add in the Tennessee factor to that bracket.
Exactly. Like I said, Kentucky is not an 8 seed.
Yeah.
That's not an 8 seed. I would say maybe tops a 4 seed, maybe even a 3 seed. I would give them.
Yeah, just based off reputation and coach alone.
I mean, you have St. Louis ahead of Kentucky. I just feel like that's a little crazy.
Yeah.
Even if Kentucky moved to the 5th seed, I feel like that would be even a nice little.
Yeah.
Louisville's not a 4 seed.
No.
Louisville, I mean, could be.
Even Patino said that. Patino said we're a 1 seed.
Yeah. So I would say a 1 or a 2 seed for Louisville. I mean, they're coming off of a national championship last year.
Yeah.
So, then you got Tennessee in here who's blowing out everybody. I mean, you can't really say anything, with Mercer, but Mercer beat Duke.
Yeah, you got to give them that. They were there.
Yeah.
That's who their opponent was.
Texas beats Arizona State on a buzzer beater.
There were a lot of those types of situations in the first rounds.
Definitely.
Well, I guess you'd call it the second round, but a lot of close games in the second round. I keep calling it that, but
it's the round of 64.
Yeah, a lot of buzzer beaters, a lot of close calls at the end. It was very exciting.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll kind of give you an overall feeling about the first 2 rounds, or the first round of 64 and then the round of 32. Florida gets into the Sweet 16. UCLA gets into the Sweet 16. VCU loses in the first round to Stephen F. Austin, which was an upset.
Yeah.
The biggest upset of probably day 1 was the first game of day 1, Ohio State and Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State losing, at the last second.
And that was one of the best games I've watched so far of the tournament was that first Ohio State Dayton game.
Definitely. Syracuse gets past the first round, then loses to Dayton.
That's almost, that's obviously an even bigger upset in terms of, you're playing against Syracuse here, one of the best.
Absolutely. So Syracuse is out. Probably the biggest upset of the second round, the round of 32. Kansas losing to Stanford. So Stanford beat New Mexico and Kansas. So now you're looking at in this side of the bracket, you got the number 11 team and the number 10 team going up against each other for the Sweet 16.
That's the best part. That's what makes this what it is. Just
absolutely,
the upsets are just, and you almost like watching the 10 and 11 seed games more than say you're one versus 4 like we're gonna have in Arizona, San Diego State. You almost want to watch just the two underdogs just battle each other. It's just so much more fun.
Exactly. Then you're going into the other bracket. Virginia moves on to they're going into the Sweet 16. Michigan State going up against them in the Sweet 16. Cincinnati loses to Harvard in the round of 32, which was another upset. Harvard looked good too.
Yes.
Going into the round of 32, beating Cincinnati.
Yeah, they had full control of that game.
Yeah. And I think it was the New York Post or something like that. It was like Revenge of the Nerds or something. It's something like that. It was pretty funny. Then this was the one game that I thought was going to be the upset. I felt like Providence was going to beat North Carolina.
Yeah, so I had that too.
Just because I felt like North Carolina kind of struggled through their...
They're not your typical North Carolina.
Through their conference tournament, I felt like they struggled a little bit. But North Carolina pulls it out, ended up losing to Iowa State in the round of 32. Iowa State moves on to the Sweet 16 to play... Was it Villanova?
UConn.
UConn, yeah. Yeah, UConn beat Villanova. So that's another somewhat upset, I guess you can say.
Yeah, I liked... UConn coming into this tournament because I feel like if you have guard play, you're going to go far.
Yeah.
And they have that in Shabazz Napier.
I love Napier.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best players in the country. And that's why I knew if UConn, matched up against Villanova, they would have a chance just because guard play is the most important thing in this tournament.
Then, to the other side of the bracket, you got Arizona moving into the Sweet 16, going up against San Diego State. Oklahoma State lost to Gonzaga, which I felt like Oklahoma State was a better team, honestly.
Me too.
But, Oklahoma State couldn't pull it out. Oklahoma loses to North Dakota State. And then San Diego State beat North Dakota State. So you got Arizona and San Diego in the Sweet 16. Baylor beat Nebraska, which I thought Nebraska was going to be another
nice
one
upset.
of those. Yeah. Creighton beats Louisiana Lafayette pretty handily.
Mm-hmm.
And then lost to Baylor, which was a tough loss for me. I thought Creighton was going to go nicely. I thought Doug McDermott would take them, to the promised land.
And it's also funny because Barkley brought it up, talking about Creighton. It's like, other than Doug McDermott, they're terrible. They're a terrible team. And it's as simple as he makes it sound. He's absolutely right, though. I mean, you can't be a one-man team in this. Yeah. You just can't.
See, now, when we're looking... Actually, we'll get into that, in a little bit. I'll bring that up in a little bit. But keep on going with these games. Oregon beat BYU. Then Wisconsin beat American, which was a very close... Well, was a close game until the second half. And, that game went bye-bye. Wisconsin beat Oregon. So you got... You have Baylor versus Wisconsin in the Sweet 16.
That's where I had Wisconsin going out for me. Was
I thought they were going to lose to Creighton. Honestly, I felt like they were going to lose to Creighton. But
okay.
Then the tough bracket, like we were saying, the Wichita State bracket. Wichita State beat Cal Poly. Then Kentucky beat Kansas State. Everybody kind of was like downing Kentucky though, but Kentucky pulled it out. And then beat Wichita State by 2 yesterday. Well, Sunday.
Yes.
St. Louis beat NC State after being down by 16 going into the second half.
The game I had, NC State winning.
Yeah.
And that one hurts just more because of like what you just said, having the lead. I believe 16 points in the second half. All you got to do is hit free throws at the end of the game, and they couldn't.
Louisville beat Manhattan, which was a very close game.
Yes.
Very close game, which kind of scared me because in one of my brackets I have Louisville winning it all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and the reason of that was Manhattan plays a lot like Louisville. Same style, so it was really like a slugfest type game. You knew it was going to be close.
Louisville ended up beating St. Louis So it's going to be Kentucky versus Louisville. And then UMass got killed by Tennessee. Then Mercer beat Duke. Then Tennessee smacked Mercer. So you got Tennessee, and then Texas beat Arizona State, like I said, at a buzzer. Michigan beat Wofford. Then Michigan beat Texas. So now we have Tennessee versus Michigan.
And you gotta watch out if you're Michigan. I mean,
this
is just like that streaky team this year. It seems like in Tennessee that, I mean, obviously have been killing the competition so far.
like you can definitely, because of their skill, I guess you can call them a Cinderella story. But just because of their school,
they are Tennessee still.
Tennessee, Tennessee is still a
but I mean,
top.
To have to play a playing game, and now you're killing your opponents by 20 points each.
Exactly.
You're getting hot at the right time.
See that? Like the only reason why I say that is because you had like a Cinderella story last year with Florida Gulf Coast.
Yes.
Like you're looking at a Florida Gulf Coast.
Even VCU when they started, whatever it was, 3-4 years ago.
So you're looking at those kind of schools and you're like, wow, I've never heard of this school.
So that's a Cinderella.
Tennessee has been there. Tennessee's done what they had to do.
Yeah.
So. It's been, like I said, it's been an interesting, first 2 rounds, and it's just going to get even better from here. I mean, the Sweet 16 games are going to be
usually the best.
Interesting.
Usually the best Sweet 16 games, just because you have a good amount and obviously high quality, and the team is playing each other.
Yeah.
I mean, when you got games like Louisville, Kentucky, Arizona, San Diego State, who's already played each other this year.
Yeah.
UCLA, Florida. I mean, you're getting great games.
Yeah.
10 and 11 seed.
That's going to be a good game. I kind of can't wait for that game, the Dayton and
I'm looking
Stanford
forward
game.
to that one, and Virginia, Michigan State.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to too, because
well, I'm going to be biting my nails for that one because
they're both like those scrappy, do whatever it takes to get it done. Very team oriented though at the same time. I think that's going to be one of the best games.
I mean, you had Payne that had 40 points the other night from Michigan State. I really do like Gary Harris. Mm-hmm. I feel like he can be a decent NBA pro.
Yeah.
So, it's Michigan State has a very, I guess you could say under the radar kind of team, sort of.
It's almost like their coaches why not the players.
Yeah. I love Tom Izzo.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the best coaches in the country in all of NCAA.
He's almost been like my favorite in a way, just because of like the name thing. As stupid as it sounds, I get it, but growing up, it was him, Krzyzewski, Roy Williams. Patino. Those are the guys. And I've always liked Izzo in that way, just because of the name thing, and he has that, just like that. That's something about him in the way, just something in like his face that just gives off like. It's just like anger, intensity, yet, he's telling you to go out and do your job without saying a word. Yeah. And that's what the best coaches do.
Yeah, well, you got Krzyzewski that's, just has no facial expressions at all and just sits there and just watches the game. And then you have, like, Tom Izzo that's into the game.
Yeah.
I really do like Izzo.
Yeah, me too.
So that's kind of one of the reasons why I went with Michigan State.
Yeah, agreed.
But we're going to take a break. We're going to get into some interesting opinions, I guess you could say. Our opinions
questions
between Andrew Wiggins and Jabari Parker. When we get back, you're listening to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio on the Live 365 app. Keep it locked. Be sure to listen to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on allnoiseradio.com and the Live 365 app Wednesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Once in a lifetime, once in a lifetime, once in a lifetime. Oh, give me a shot at the light.
And welcome back to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio on the Live 365 app. We're going to get into a topic here about what should the top college players do that have been knocked out already, obviously.
Yeah.
What should they do next year?
I mean, if you're looking at the mock draft, you're looking at, I think it's the top 5 guys in that draft that are not going on to the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, they didn't really step up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why the questions have been brought up. Should these players come back for another year to show themselves?
Yeah.
And it kind of like, I mean, if you look at Joel Embiid, the center from Kansas, didn't even play in this tournament. So that's one of the reasons for him.
You know, but also at that, with him not showing, you know, his stock might have even rose with it.
Yeah.
Because of Kansas losing already. So, you know, Joel kind of has two sides to it. His
Absolutely.
is a little trickier, but I feel with big men, you kind of have to go because look at Greg Oden.
Yeah.
You know, Yao Ming, you know, these guys just break down. They're just too big to run up and down these courts all the time.
Yeah, I just, like, because you look at it and you're like, all right, it's the tournament. He didn't get to play in the tournament. It's a great experience to be even able to play in this. But then on the other hand, it's like, you know, you look at all these players that end up coming back for an extra year. They end up getting hurt.
Or, something.
You know,
they don't go as high as they were projected the year before.
I mean, look at Matt Barkley.
Yeah.
And, I mean, obviously it's two different sports, but you look at Matt Barkley, he was looking at a top 10 pick the year before.
Guaranteed.
He ends up coming back, hurts his shoulder, and then ends up going into, what, the third, fourth round?
Third or fourth. I think it was fourth,
to the Eagles. So it's, you know, it's a tough situation when you're thinking about something like that, especially with Joel Embiid, because right now he's slotted in that number one pick range, at least, depending on who wins the lottery for that. So it's like, do you want to do it just because of the experience of making making the tournament, playing in the tournament, and just having that experience, or do you just want, you know what, I don't want to take the chances. I want to go in. It's
really tough because, and you know, it's even we're sitting here. You know, we're not them.
Oh, absolutely.
But you know, it just comes down to what's more important, and you know, is that experience more important than getting your money a year faster?
Yeah.
Because the money's going to be there for these guys. You know.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if they have some injuries in the next year, Wiggins and Parker especially. Yeah. They'll be drafted in the first round, no matter what. So, you know, it comes down to is you know, the experience worth it? And for Joel, I mean, he's new to America, let alone basketball. Yeah. I mean, all this is new to him. So he does. I don't want to say he doesn't know, like, the power of money. You know, because it's also new to him. You know, he might want that experience because it is once in a lifetime. Yeah. You know, everything is brand new to him here, and he missed, you know, the most exciting thing you can do in college basketball.
Yeah. So I feel like, you know, it's a tough question.
It is, yes.
for any of these guys to answer, really. And Jabari Parker struggled. Yeah. Andrew Wiggins struggled even worse with 4 points against Stanford. So, you know, it's tough. You know that these guys are gonna go this year, no matter what they did in this tournament, whether they won the championship or they went out in the first round. They were gonna be drafted in the top 5. Yes, they were gonna get drafted in the top 5, no matter what. So it's, you know, it's a tough question to ask, you know, for them, and it's going to be tough for them to make that decision. And I mean, it's easy for us to even just bring up everything that, you know, and what we would do, and you know, but
that's why we're here, you know, and
exactly.
It's with Jabari too. Duke is bringing in one of the top recruiting classes next year, with like the number 1 and number 3 overall from high school. So that might even entice Jabari a little bit more, you know, playing with guys on his level, I guess you could say, because he was a top-rated high school player, or one of the top-rated high school players. So, you know, does that make him want to come back more? You know, all right, let's get this done with, you know, these guys coming in. Let me go prove who I am. It's tough.
But again, you know, listening to the CBS post game after Kansas lost, you know, Charles Barkley said that the NBA is not a good sport right now. It is not, and we agree with that. Yes, because it's very boring right now. Yes, and you know, it's a two sport game. Right? It's a 2-team sport right now, really, and it's just. I mean, for them, I think going back for an extra year would be good for them.
Yes.
Just get that extra, the extra experience, and then also I feel like Wiggins can bulk up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, they're also playing under NBA quality head coaches.
Oh, absolutely.
At these top programs,
Yeah.
and Krzyzewski and Bill
Self. Yeah.
So, it's not like what's the benefit of going to an NBA and getting drafted by the Sixers?
And then yeah.
What good would that do for your career?
Because if you really look at it right now, the teams that you're going to be drafted to, they're not good.
Yeah.
They're really not good.
You want to go on this 24-game losing streak with Philly?
Yeah. You'll be lucky. And obviously I'm not saying this just because I'm a fan, but you'll be lucky to be drafted to the Lakers.
Yeah. No, you would
because that's a team that
can
go,
turn it around, yeah.
That can go from what they are right now to the next level.
Yes.
To, being a
in an
playoff
off season.
team.
Yeah.
So, like that, but Philly's not a team to do that.
No.
Philly's not a team to do that.
That was just the perfect way to put it. Like, there's really only one team you would want to go to in this lottery,
top
I guess
five,
you could say, and that's the Lakers, just because of the ability to, like that, you're contending again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just LA being LA, wanting to and attracting people. Just the Lakers aura, as a general. I do think they need to do something with the buses, like something has to get done where it's Jim, right?
Yeah.
The son.
Yeah.
He needs less of an ego, he needs to. And
I can't stand Jim Buss. He's one of those guys that's just, it's like
he let it get to his head a little bit. Let his father's greatness get to his head a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a different story with him. Like I said, I would love for Jeannie Buss to take over this team.
Now, we don't know if that can happen or not, though.
Yeah.
With that whole debacle in New York now.
Yeah. But, right now you're looking at the top... If you're looking at the top 5 teams, you're looking at the Bucks, the 76ers, Magic, Jazz, and Lakers. So
where would you want to go besides LA?
Exactly. Exactly. And then maybe
even the Magic aren't too, they're bad. I'm not saying they're not bad, but they, Oladipo, they have a very good center. Vucevic, I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah.
But that's who they got from the 76ers, actually, part of when Bynum went over there and all this and that.
You also have the Celtics that are behind the Lakers, which is another team you can, it wouldn't be bad going to.
They're going through a lot of rebuilding, obviously, a new coach and, no more KG. And
the Lakers are there.
Yeah.
The Lakers will be there next year, depending on, injuries. Injuries kind of hurt them this year. So, whenever you have Kobe Bryant on your team, it's always a good...
Yeah.
And especially for especially for a guy like Andrew Wiggins, to be behind, to be at least
just get some,
playing
mentor
with,
experience.
exactly. So,
I mean, that would be the dream spot for any of these. But you're gonna take that chance, a 1 in 5 chance to maybe get picked by the Lakers.
Yeah.
Instead of maybe going back next year, working on your game all around, every get bigger, especially Wiggins, as you said. And, we'll see who's there next year.
Yeah.
So, it'll be different teams in the lottery next year. You never know what can happen. Look at the Lakers this year with the down year.
Yeah.
These things happen. That
Absolutely.
it could be the Miami Heat next year.
Yeah.
If LeBron opts out. Nobody knows.
Yeah, so, you're looking at, like we said, the NBA is not a good sport right now.
Yeah.
It's just it's just boring.
And that's where this age thing that everyone's talking about really, really comes in.
This is where, it's going to go to the advantage of Adam Silver,
Well, we wouldn't even be talking about what they should do or not, because they would have to stay in college for 2 years.
Exactly.
And that's the way it should be.
Now, if you took them out of this, out of this draft, then you're looking at a draft that's like,
Yeah. But, and that, next year is going to be even better than what this year was projected to be.
Exactly. So I mean, you look at some of these guys that go to college for at least 2 or 3 years.
Football. I mean, obviously, I know completely different sports, but they're men. I think it's 2 years or maybe even 3 in college football. And
I think you have to do at least 2 years.
Yeah, and look at the quality though of the rookies going into the NFL. They know what they're getting themselves into. They can handle it.
They're moving into starting spots, like
in any position too. I mean, that's just what another year can do for you, just experience-wise. Like freshman year, everything is new. You have all your fun and everything like that. You just get everything under your belt. Then the next year is when you can really take the next up into, greatness potentially.
Yeah. So it's a tough, question to answer for these guys, and my feeling on it, I just feel like they're all going to go into the draft.
Yep.
So
just continuing the NBA problem.
Yeah, but right now, I feel like Adam Silver has a good, I guess, advantage towards this.
Yeah, with these 3 guys.
Yeah.
Well, mostly 2, with Wiggins and Parker. But, no, it's a very good point that, say they go into the league and turn out to a bust or something like, whatever it may be, then he can turn around and say, we need to, work on his age limit.
Yeah. So, also talking about Adam Silver, he's meeting with LeBron James about the sleeved jerseys,
which we voice our opinions of.
Oh, absolutely. I don't like them at all.
No.
So, we'll see what happens with that. He said if enough players don't like them, that they'll,
and it seemed like enough of them didn't like it.
Yeah.
It's not like you heard NBA players coming out saying how great they were.
Yeah.
We can put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, college players do it. College players wear them also. So, they actually wear them more than NBA players do.
I don't think you should do sleeve jerseys, but you can wear a shirt under. Some people do that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. That's why I don't see the reasoning behind a sleeved jerseys other than making more money.
Yeah. There's no benefit to the players or not.
It really, I mean, the excuses that LeBron had, I think, are a little stupid.
Yeah, with the shot. Yeah, no, don't get
that's a little stupid, but I just feel like why even try to change that? I don't know. I feel like
hopefully nothing comes of that.
Yeah.
We don't see those ever
all
again.
These guys, Jerry West, they all wore. Obviously, they went from the short shorts to the longer shorts. But,
very good move.
But
no one's gonna complain about that.
Yeah,
but that is not even close to this.
But we're about to take a break. We'll get into some more NBA news when we get back. You're listening to Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio on the Live 365 app. Keep it locked.
Yeah, staring out into the unknown. Voices in the wind telling me to come home. But I'm scared that all this time I've been gone. I'll open up the door and my little daughter will be grown. And I'm cold, tell me why I'm so cold. Honey, cause the shoulder turns every night.
Be sure to listen to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on allnoiseradio.com and the Live 365 app Wednesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Hold up. We them boys.
And welcome back to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio and the Live 365 app. We're going to take a look at the standings in basketball now and really just how uncompetitive or
This whole conference is.
unequal,
Yeah.
you could say this conference really is.
There's 2 teams. That's it.
Yeah.
It really is 2 teams. I mean, when you have 2 out of the 8 seeds under 500, that's a problem. That is a problem. And, looking at this conference, nobody has a chance against Indiana or Miami.
No.
There's nobody taking them apart from the Eastern Conference Finals. Nobody's going to stop them.
Yeah.
Unless there's an injury
Catastrophic injury.
Yeah, like if LeBron went down or Paul George went down, that's the only way.
Yeah.
And even the Heat can probably win without LeBron. It's going to be tough.
Can too.
It's going to be tough. Yeah.
Even Indiana can.
Yeah. It's going to be tough, and there's probably more of a chance of another team beating them, but it's not going to happen. These guys are, these 2 teams are not going to be topped.
Yeah.
So, this is going to, I'm saying it right now, the Eastern Conference Finals is going to be Indiana and Miami. Whether it be, whoever gets the number 1 seed, it's probably most likely looking like Indiana getting that number 1 seed. But, you have the Knicks that are 3 games behind the 8th seed from making the playoffs at the record of 29-41. That's a problem.
That is a very big problem.
That's a problem. You have Atlanta Hawks in the 8th seed at 31-37.
Yeah, and just really off the top of my head, just thinking right now, maybe the only way you can make the playoffs better is shorter series.
Maybe.
So then maybe you can have your upsets, because
a 7-game series.
There's no chance.
Yeah,
there's just
really
absolutely no chance, and that's why I was thinking, maybe a shorter series.
Go back to what they used to do. The first round was the 5-game series.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean,
even that's a slimmer chances. I get it, but I mean, there's not what can you do to stop this?
Yeah.
There's not much.
There really isn't, and looking at these teams, it's not going to change. It's not,
players. Basketball is just different now. These superstars want to play together.
Yeah,
and that's something the league's going to have to adjust to. And I don't know what you can do to stop it.
You gotta in one sense, it's all right. This is great.
It is. Yeah, it's fun to watch.
That they want to play with each other. Because you go in the NFL and all these players want money. Mm-hmm. That's really what it is in the NFL.
And they also want to kill each other, though.
Yeah.
In football.
Yeah. But, guys like that, it's they look for the money first. That, they don't care about playing with a crazy team. Take the pay cut and win a championship, and get paid for a championship.
You're still getting paid.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like you're getting minimum wage out there.
Exactly. So, in a sense, it's good, but in another sense, it's there's no equal play, especially in this Eastern Conference.
And another thing bringing up the draft is, you got these rookies going to terrible teams. And maybe good, like Kyrie, for example. He'll just play his rookie contract and then out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem with the NBA.
But that's also another problem with teams that can't afford these guys.
Yes.
Because you're gonna have Philly or say Milwaukee gets that number 1 seed and picks either one of them, and they play out their rookie contract, and then it comes to the point where say they do become that superstar like a Kyrie Irving or someone like that. They're going to want the big bucks.
Yep.
And that team can't give it to them, and that's why they dip from their team. So it's just, it's a tough...
And then NBA players seem to care more about the actual city, where they're going to be living in terms of weather and everything like that, than more so in other sports. Everyone's flocking to LA. Everyone goes to Miami.
Yep.
These always warm locations... Who's gonna want to go to Milwaukee?
Exactly.
That's another issue. I mean, there's nothing you can. It's a very tough situation for the league.
And I mean, going on to the Western Conference, and it's more of an equal playing field between all 8 seeds. Really, I mean, you have the number 8 seed at 42-29 in Dallas Mavericks.
That's the opposite of the Knicks.
Yeah.
In terms of pretty much evenly. I think the Knicks are 29-41, or maybe even 40. Yeah, so
29-41.
And you're talking about the Knicks being 2 games out of a playoff spot at that. It's
the Phoenix Suns are 41-29 and out of the playoffs. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 34-34, and they would be in the 6th seed.
And they're
in the Eastern Conference,
the 10th seed in the West.
Yep.
Yeah.
Denver 32-38. They would be in the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. And they are the 13th seed in the Western Conference.
Yeah, what's the worst Western?
The worst Western Conference is Utah at 23-47.
And surprisingly, they're actually playing better now than obviously they have been playing before that. But
you look at it and it's just
it's not even.
It's crazy. It's crazy how bad the Eastern Conference is. it's just I don't know what else to say. I mean, Cleveland could even try to make the playoffs. I mean, it's a tough road for them.
Yeah.
Because they need to win a lot, and the teams in front of them have to, lose a lot. But I mean, they even have somewhat of a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're looking at teams in the Western Conference that would be in the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, it really is. And when you're also looking at Toronto as a 3 seed, I mean, granted they are playing well, but as you said before, I mean, just look at that separation from the 1 and 2 seeds to the 3 seed.
All right, now listen to this. Toronto is the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. Phoenix Suns are not in the playoffs right now. In the Western Conference, they would be the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. Now, as a Phoenix Sun, how does that feel for you?
Yeah.
That just because you're playing in the Western Conference, you're not going to make the playoffs. If you were to play in the Eastern Conference, you would be a 3 seed.
Maybe even better too if they're playing Eastern Conference teams the whole year.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's just competition-wise. Now, how would Miami be in the Western Conference?
Exactly.
When you have to play San Antonio 4 times
and
or so.
This is another thing that I also was bringing up with like LeBron's free agency type thing. He's never going to go to the Western Conference.
No.
Why would you?
Yeah, there's no
You
point.
have almost a free ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals every year.
Yeah.
Why would you leave?
Exactly.
There's no reason to leave this conference.
Your hardest game of your conference is against Indiana.
Yeah.
That's the hardest game for them. If you were to put Miami in the Western Conference or Indiana in the Western Conference and they got to play OKC 4 times or San Antonio 4 times or Clippers 4 times.
Your Houston's 4 times.
Yeah.
Your Phoenix Suns even 4. I mean, it would be a lot different.
A lot different. So, it's just crazy when you're looking at the NBA and it's just not cool.
Maybe not go by geographics and just build conferences by just building them.
Yeah.
AFC, NFC type things.
Yeah.
Instead of having East and West, because it's an absolute joke where the
is.
NBA is right now. When you have teams 12 games under 500 fighting for a playoff spot, that's an absolute joke and should never happen. So maybe instead of geographically doing it, just make conferences. Just rearrange, split them. Just do something. You have to change what this is right now.
I mean, it would kind of suck if, say a Knicks team was put in a division with, a Lakers team or something like that because of
the travel.
Yeah,
I get that.
But it's just, there's got to be something that has to go down, to make this more of a even playing field. I mean, right now, like I said, you're looking at the Eastern Conference. You're looking at Indiana and Miami going boom right into the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah,
there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care what.
No one's beating
says.
them in a 7-game series. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
No one's going to do it.
So, and then even, bringing up the Western Conference and bringing up how, how this sport is more of a 4-team, 5-team sport. I'm gonna say San Antonio and OKC again in the Western Conference Finals just because. I mean, you can even say the same thing like how I said Miami to Toronto from the 2nd to 3rd, seed. There's a big drop off.
Yes.
All right.
We're not dissing Toronto or anything like that. They're playing great basketball. It's just you don't have LeBron James.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. The level of talent from
yes.
each team is just a big drop off. Even you're looking at, their number 3 player or say, Chris Bosh or something like that is still a number 1 player on Toronto's team. So, I can kind of say the same thing about Western with, OKC to the Clippers from that 2 to 3 seed. There's still a nice little drop off.
Not as much as the East, obviously. Not even close, but
absolutely, there's not that much of a difference.
Yes,
but the difference between OKC and Clippers, there's a little dip off of that.
But I know everyone likes to kind of bandwagon the Clippers, because they're exciting and everything like that.
They're not a playoff team.
Just wait till the playoffs because
they're not a playoff team.
It happens every year.
Yep.
Well, since they got Blake, I guess we could say it's been happening every year. They just don't rebound in the playoffs.
Chris Paul is another, he's a struggle in the playoffs.
He's a great player, but
in the big
What have we
games.
seen in the
Yeah.
playoffs that makes him the best point guard in the league that
Yeah.
everyone claims? I don't care what anyone tells me. Rajon Rondo is the
Yeah,
best
I
point
was
guard
just
in the
about to
league.
say that.
I do not care what anyone tells me.
I've kind of always felt that way. I felt like Deron Williams was,
Yeah.
a very good
Pre-Nets,
Yeah, I mean, even with the Nets, I just feel like
pre-injuries, he's always been getting hurt.
with him, he can do everything.
Yeah,
he can
yeah,
defend, he can shoot, and he can pass.
And
Chris Paul can shoot and pass. Defense is a little, he's a decent, defender.
And even in terms of passing, I would still take Rondo.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely. Absolutely. No, passing wise, Rajon Rondo is by
that's
far
what
the
I
number.
don't understand is why people. I don't want to say dog Rondo because they say what he is, but you want a pass first player to shoot more for himself.
Yeah.
And that's what would make Rajon Rondo a better player, according to all these NBA people.
And now, on the other hand, if you kind of flip that around, people bash Russell Westbrook for being a shoot first point guard. So it's
exactly
it's tough.
I mean, we're not gonna win.
Yeah,
that's basically
exactly.
No one's gonna win here.
No matter what it is, it's always
you're gonna find something
to
complain about. Rajon Rondo is the best point guard in the league.
Yeah. I would say that. Yeah, I would say that.
Or argument all you want. I mean,
the guy has, the best sense of passing. Probably him and LeBron are probably the better, best passing, players in the league.
Show me a point guard that gets more triple doubles than Rajon Rondo.
Well, that's another thing. This guy
best rebounding point guard there is.
Yeah, racks in, triple doubles like it's nothing. So.
And if it wasn't for Rondo on that 08 team, they were not winning that championship.
Oh, no.
Big three or not, they were not winning it without Rondo.
Exactly. So, it could go either way with that. But like I said, I just feel like OKC
big drop-off.
to Clippers is a drop-off. But
and if you don't believe us, just wait till the playoffs.
Yeah. But, we're going to take a break. We're going to get into some NFL and baseball news when we get back. You're listening to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio on the Live 365 app. Keep it locked. Be sure to listen to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on allnoiseradio.com and the Live 365 app Wednesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern.
And welcome back to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio and the Live 365 app. As Jerry said before the break, we're going to now get into a little bit of NFL and eventually MLB news. But for now, like I said, we're going to go into the NFL. And Deshaun Jackson, as you all should know, is openly being shopped by the Philadelphia Eagles. And kind of like a shocking move, I guess you can say, because only 2 years ago or a year ago, they signed him to a big deal. I believe close to $60 million.
That's one of the reasons why.
And that's now why they're shopping him.
They're pretty much saying that there is basically no shot that he's going to be on the Eagles next year. So, there's a few teams that, are interested in him. The thing is, right now, there's two teams that are interested in him that are kind of in a tough spot. Like the Patriots and the 49ers are in a tough spot money-wise. Mm-hmm. They would have to some kind of reconstruct his contract when if he was to be traded to them. So they would have to try to reconstruct that somehow. Yeah. But the other front runner with these other two teams are the Jets. Yeah. So,
but what we also don't know is Deshaun kind of have leverage in this,
yeah.
Do the Eagles come to him and say, these are teams interested, who would you pick kind of thing?
Exactly.
Because I don't think he would pick the Jets. And I'm not, bashing them. They had a nice 8 in a year that no one expected. But, when you're talking about the Patriots and the 49ers as the other teams, you're probably going to lean towards one of those two.
The only reason why I would say that the Jets have some kind of...
The only way they would get him is because of the money.
That
he would keep all the money that he's getting from the Jets.
That and their newest acquisition of Mike Vick.
That's a very good point.
Because of
the connection.
You know, they're very close friends.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
So that would be the only reason why I would say that Deshaun Jackson goes to the Jets.
But even at that, I mean, is Vick a starter? Is Vick a backup?
Well, that's something that they said that they would have to go through.
That's once again kind of adding. You would be adding too much drama.
Yeah.
On the Jets. I mean, you just got past all of everything with Tebow. Mark Sanchez is gone. This is like
that was another big news.
Yeah,
the Jets releasing.
But this is kind of like the first clean slate Rex Ryan has really had, because the first couple seasons, he never shut his mouth, kind of put it on himself. But then you sign Tebow and you have all the problems with Mark Sanchez.
Yeah,
you draft Geno Smith. What's going to go happen with Sanchez now? You finally got past all that. Now you bring in Vic. You add QB competition.
Yeah.
You may bring in Vic's old receiver from Philly, adding even more competition. Why? Why do that to your team?
See, my thing is right now, I felt like this. Not a lot of people like the whole Mike Vick move. I think it's a great move.
I do too.
Just because of Geno Smith.
Yep.
And honestly, I would start Mike Vick.
Mm-hmm.
Because first of all, it's almost a lock that he's going to get hurt. I mean, you could just say that right now he's going to get hurt. But I just feel like it's going to be a more of an advantage for Geno Smith to actually be able to sit behind him and watch everything he does, because they are the same quarterback.
Yeah.
They really are the same quarterback.
Geno may be a little more pocket-ish.
Yeah.
He's not a pocket passer, obviously, but
with age, Mike Vick has become more of that pocket-ish kind of quarterback. But the only difference really between them is one's a righty, one's a lefty. But I just feel like this is going to be a great move just for Geno Smith's,
Yeah, and doesn't even have to do anything with football, and it's a great move. Just from standpoint of kind of keeping him calm in situations of, maybe he gets over his head a little bit too much. He kind of has like that big brother that can, all right, it's cool, stay calm. Vic's been there before. He's dealt with adversity that, people have never, obviously deservingly so for everything that happened, but he really is a great mentor for another young quarterback in this league, no matter who it is, just because of everything he's gone through and who he is now. That'll help anyone get better as a person, let alone a football player.
And it'll keep Geno Smith out of trouble.
Yes.
Because of, everything that's happened to Mike Vick in his career, and his life of his problems with the cops, obviously.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to keep kind of Geno Smith, more together in his head and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Geno Smith is a troublemaker or anything.
No,
I'm just saying, maybe that one time that he just feels like going out to the club or something like that, Mike Vick can actually, tell him, just watch yourself. So I feel like all around it's a good move for them.
Yeah.
And, you're going to have him for, I'm going to say maybe 2 or 3 years.
The only thing, my thing now with the Jets is like, you have to decide who the quarterback is.
Yeah.
Just to not have drama for your team.
Yeah.
Because drama has always been there every year since Rex has been there. You have to kind of be drama-free at one point, So just get the quarterback decision over, and then I think it's a great move after that. Just make that decision, so it's not every day who's going to start, media asking, you get that done, and it is a great move overall.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was one of the reasons why I felt like Deshaun Jackson had a very good chance of going to the Jets, because of the acquisition of, Mike Vick.
And another thing, I mean, salary cap is going up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it
went
12 mil or something, 10 mil or something like that. And it's just projected to keep, going up. So that's another interesting thing with the Eagles, though. Basically shopping their best receiver.
I don't understand it.
I don't either.
So
especially when he fits Chip Kelly so well.
Yeah.
It would seem that he fits it so well when he had his best year last year.
Yeah. Also breaking news to us right now: Ravens signed head coach John Harbaugh through 2017. So a 1-year deal. Then the Ravens also traded for Jeremy Zutta, the offensive.
I think they're going to put him at center. I think they're going to put him at center. Yeah.
You know that gives them a center that they kind of really needed.
Yeah, and in any situation, when you come from a bad team to a decent team or a good team, a respected team, you could say.
Yeah.
That makes all the difference in the world. You're going to play so much harder. You're going to care so much more. You're going to be into it so much more. So, good move from the Ravens standpoint.
Yeah. Other big news coming to us is the Lions will not exercise Nick Fairley's 5th-year option for 2015. Okay. So I don't know if that makes him a free agent now or next offseason. Yeah. It means he'll be eligible for unrestricted free agency next offseason.
And then that would be tough if they lose him because they lost Willie Young already in offseason this year. And then you're kind of leaving Sue by himself there on what used to be the best defensive line in football.
Yeah. It also says GM Martin Mayhew wants Fairley motivated for 2015. And
That's a good point, though.
And doesn't believe he's a $5.5 million player right now.
Ooh, see, but that's what GMs do, Yeah. Now Fairley's going to have to go out there and show it.
Yeah, and it says the number 13 overall pick of the 2011 draft, Fairley has dealt with his weight and injury issues. A consistent and healthy 2014 can still result in a monster payday.
And it would because he showed the signs late last year particularly. He is could be a very dominating nose tackle or defensive tackle.
Yeah. He's been having decent years.
Yeah, it's just a consistency, as exactly. That Roder said.
So,
Rader said.
That was, probably one of the bigger news of today. Really,
that's very interesting. We'll see what happens with that.
I guess we'll move to baseball real quick.
Yeah,
we got 60. We got 6 days until opening day, so that's great news for us because we've been waiting for it for quite some time now.
Since football.
Yeah.
We could basically say that.
Yeah, and actually the Orioles made a trade.
Oh, okay.
I believe. They traded Alex Gonzalez.
I heard about that. I couldn't obviously go on my phone when I heard about it in my car, so I couldn't really.
They traded Alex Gonzalez for
minor leaguer, I believe it was.
For utility man Steve Lombardo.
And it's very weird because I think we just got him. Didn't we just get Alex Gonzalez?
I think maybe last year.
After the deadline last year, I think we got him. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's a good move for the Tigers because of Jose Iglesias maybe having to go for I think he's going for Tommy John surgery. Yeah. So I don't know. So that's a good move for them.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean. It's just waiting for opening day. I mean, Rangers, Giovanni Soto's out for 10 to 12 weeks, which is a big blow for the Rangers. Machado is going to start the season on the DL, the 15-day DL.
No, I have absolutely no problem with that. He's 21 years old.
Yeah.
Get him healthy.
Yeah, he'll be going through a spring training kind of training, I guess, through the beginning of the season. So
I mean, there's 162 games, plenty of time.
Yeah. One of the Tampa Bay Rays pitchers, Alex Colome, has or Colome, whatever it is, suspended 50 games for a nice little drug ban.
Tampa Bay gets pitchers like no one's business out of their farm system. It's every year.
Yeah,
there's one pitcher.
Other than that, I mean,
we're just waiting. This is the exciting time of year. This is my favorite time of year. Baseball is my favorite sport.
Yeah.
Opening day is like no other. Just gives you the feeling of anything's possible.
Yeah.
And just seeing the sun on baseball fields and just there's something about it, man.
Red Sox extend David Ortiz through 2015, so that's a good move for them. And then, I mean, the Yankees have looked good so far in spring training. The pitching is actually really hyping me up for this season.
I think their most important player this year is Teixeira.
Yeah.
Because of if they don't have him in that infield, it's not a good-looking infield in terms of defense. I mean, you got a 40-something-year-old Jeter. Who knows what you have at third base?
Yeah.
Possibly Roberts at second. I mean, that's why I think Teixeira really going to be like the glue for that infield. He's the most important player.
Absolutely.
And even with the bat, I mean, he's got to live up to that 150, 170, 75, I think it was.
Something like that. It's like 20-something a year.
It's really scary because I was looking at something, the Scherzer, when he declined the contract, they're showing the contracts of like where, if he accepted it, where he would have been in terms of highest paid.
Yeah.
It's like you're seeing $27 million a year, $28 million. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
It's crazy with MLB and not having a salary cap, but it's also crazy that it's so equal.
It is.
Like in baseball, it really like you don't have dominant teams. Like
no one just hit me though. Maybe the discrepancy between the two leagues, basketball and baseball. Baseball, you have the farm systems.
Yeah. Well, that's
the D League is, what is? There's nothing. Maybe that's kind of a factor of why the NBA is where it is, because if you're constantly bad in baseball, like my team has been, the Orioles for the past 15 years, you finally get, the minors because you get top picks.
Yeah.
And you turn out Manny Machado's and this and that.
Exactly.
So maybe that's something there too. I don't know.
Yeah. But that will do it for our show. I'm Jerry.
I'm Tom.
Be breezy.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Tom and Jerry Show.